And we are back for the draft of Game 2 here in the Ember Cinder League. I'm Isaac, alongside me is Jack. And Forge Esports Vanguard have chosen to switch over to blue side for Game 2.
I'm extremely happy about this, and I'm extremely impressed. Forge Esports Vanguard opting to go to blue side consistently has a much higher win rate in competitive play, and I can't tell you how many teams opt to go to red side every single time they have the chance. I can't tell you how many best of threes I've cast where blue side wins every game, and every team who loses picks red side. So I'm happy to see Forge Esports Vanguard make that move, especially when we see how impactful first pick was last game. That Mel absolutely ran the game, did so much damage. I think the only member of Pup Patrol who at every stage of the game was very far ahead. And so now not letting that mid laner have that first pick, potentially not even letting them have the Mel period, is going to be impactful into the second draft.
Yeah, especially when these two teams have such contested champions that they want. Like the set is also really played by Wildstar. Wildstar's most played champion in solo queue, as well as that Mel, since this isn't fearless, which is unorthodox these days. Having that blue side with so many champions that you want on your team is vital.
Yeah, and seeing some normalcy in these bans, the Jinx still gone, the set being banned. I actually like that because you're not going to first pick set. So if you're not going to first pick it and they're willing to blind it early in their draft, we saw how well Oath played it, how well they recovered from an early kind of beating that Wildstar gave them. Might as well just get rid of it. And then if they first pick the Mel now you've taken away two of the champions that were massive successes in the last team comp. So that would be very advantageous for them. And then the rest of the stuff that is available to Volibear, the Rel, the Caitlyn, that's all stuff you can counter throughout the rest of the draft. So I would like to see if they really don't want to deal with that MF, this would be where you ban that again. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I think if you're going to first pick here and not going to pick Mel, I think that banning that as well would be pretty good. Because now we can first pick something that's much more typical. Grab a jungler here, grab the Vi themselves maybe, and you've now taken away multiple high-level targets from Final Boss Pup Patrol.
Well, Forge Esports Vanguard now going to have the first pick for the first time this series with, as I said, how many of these champions are contested in these players' champion pools. You were saying the Misfortune, that is also one that both Traxon and Elmeet play a lot of. There it is.
Yep, makes sense. AD carry, jungle are two of the best positions to first pick because there's often very OP champions in those roles, and also it's really a hard positions to counter because if you can't really counter straight up AD carry. As long as the support's competent, you can always make that work. Jungle is the same thing. I really don't care if my jungler is getting counter picked because you're just going to be able to find ways for them to contribute in a 5v5. So getting the Misfortune early, I need to see them make use of it though, because Misfortune is a champion that is very strong in lane, but can fall behind as the game progresses, really falls off in terms of damage. So you have to utilize the double ups, utilize the passive, and just Final Boss Pup Patrol going to grab the Caitlyn back up. Last game, Lux was banned in the second phase. I wouldn't be surprised to see them pick it up on R3 here. So I really like the Caitlyn grab again. Rel would also just be another good example, but I think picking up a jungler of their own would be the best option here.
Yeah, as you mentioned, jungle's one that's you just really don't mind blinding all that much. Lux also, for just in terms of bot lane synergy and how much strength that has there, I wouldn't mind to see so much, especially with how much you mentioned the like the double ups and the passive usage from that misfortune is required for her laning strength. The Lux and Caitlyn can just say no with how much range that has, but Braum is going to be the option from Final Boss Pup Patrol, and that's surprising.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Braum. I think that it is in a lot of drafts like an instant win option because of just how strong he does against dive comps. But picking Braum early, he's very easy to counter if you see it early. If you pick a lot of range, if you pick a lot of control and zone control, it's hard for the Braum to really find that same usefulness. The Jarvan coming through, it is a very strong champ, and I feel like a lot of people discount Jarvan just because all they think about is the Cataclysm and think, well, if the enemy team has any number of champions that have movement abilities, then Jarvan's useless. And it's like, well, the champion's very strong, and it's very good at diving, very good at getting right into the middle of the enemy team. And sure, maybe not always able to lock down something like Caitlyn, who can use the 90 caliber net, just get out of the way, but still going to be able to get right on top of the Caitlyn. If they move out, you can just put down the wall. And Taric, going to be paired with Misfortune, has a lot of great synergy, being able to stun targets in place for very long times. That invulnerability in a 5v5 can be extremely strong. And I think based on the way Pup Patrol played the last game, where it was very like stand back, set up that frontline wall, Vanguard now have the ability to outlast Pup Patrol in any fight.
Speaking of Way, we see him getting selected on the side of Final Boss Pup Patrol. A little bit interesting taking that into the Jarvan. Not opting to, Way not having any movement outside of that flash could be a fairly big target. Also, speaking of that Jarvan, the Cataclysm alongside with the bullet time from Misfortune can keep targets in that little area just stuck, taking tons of damage. Assuming that the Unbreakable's down from Braum.
Yes, and I think the Hui is it's Black's most played in solo queue. I think this might have just been a situation where they were thinking, how many picks do I have up and available going forward? If I get banned out, we could be in trouble. So let me just grab my pick right away. As we see the bans right now, the Silas Azir, so continuing to target mid lane of Vanguard, going after Akira Menai, and then Sejuani Amumu being banned away. They're expecting a tank jungler, and they're not going to get it. Xin Zhao, one of, if not the highest presence jungler in the game right now in the competitive scene, and does very well already against the main damage on Vanguard, as Misfortune never going to be in a position to really deal good damage on Xin Zhao. If that ultimate is up and available and active, and I feel like that's probably the main reason Xin Zhao is so prevalent right now, is because during the early game, operates much like any other AD bruiser, has sustain, has movement, has really good clear speed, has the ability to deal a lot of damage and secure objectives, but also moving into the late game, because of that Crescent Guard, can become the pseudo frontliner that all the other bruisers want to be, as Yorick going for more side lane pressure.
I don't quite know what to make of this pick. It's fun. I love Yorick as a champion, and not quite as strong as he was a few patches ago. But still, Yorick, as you mentioned, that side lane pressure. That is what Yorick do.
Yeah, I think most of the real dings have come in the jungle and in the team fight stages of the game as the Talia gets locked in. This is, at this point, I believe, the highest prio mid laner on the patch. Talia didn't really get hit too much as compared to other very prevalent pro play champs. And Yasuo.
That is
last pick.
It.
Yasuo top.
It's good. The wind wall is good into Misfortune.
Good into York because you can dash through all the ghouls.
That is out of the wall true. Too. I had not considered that. That is a valid point.
Okay. I this is always the fun parts of draft where I'm like, oh, I want to talk about that other pick. And it's like, all right, we've been usurped because something crazy happened. I like Vanguard shifting to York because Wildstar had a problem last game where he got so far ahead on the Renekton, but he is relied on in the team fights for damage. So he has to abandon the lane. Whereas Yorick can just split push the whole game. So if they find another early advantage, they can really utilize this pick.
I mean, but have you considered Oath took 5 solo kills not solo kills, solo deaths that last game. That's halfway to the Yasuo power spike. And no, but I Yasuo top is a pick that like in a serious note, something that I don't remember the last time I've seen just in general. So it's fun from Oath, but
yeah. And as we head into the, I'm excited to see how we play. I have seen it a lot. If you watch LEC, the European Pro scene, a lot of players over there, Broken Blade, Mirwin, they love this counter top lane Yasuo into Gnar, into York, and I haven't seen it work one time. It always looks terrible. It never is able to translate its leads into any sort of meaningful, advantage throughout the game. And I think this might be another situation like that. I hope I'm wrong, but if you look at the rest of the team, obviously Yasuo in a vacuum will do well against Yorick. Like I mentioned, you're able to get out of the ghoul cage by utilizing the dashes, utilizing Yorick's ghouls against them. But if you look at the rest of the team, yeah, Xin Zhao's got a one-man knockup on that 3-talon spike, and Braum is going to be able to potentially land some decent knockups with the glacial fissure. But other than that, it's going to be really Wildstar up against Oath, and Oath is going to be relying on themselves to make a lot of these plays happen.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how Oath pilots this Yasuo. As you mentioned, it'll probably vary solo reliant, but we do have the game starting right about now. We should be loading on. I hear the champions spawning in onto the roof, and there we are. Game 2 underway between Forge Esports Vanguard and Final Boss Pup Patrol.
Still no unsealed spell books. I was really happy last game that both supports took exhaust. I don't know what. See, I do. Both 80 carries, pretty much all 80 carries shifted from barrier or from heal to barrier. And so a lot of supports now take heal and go that double defensive, try and maintain the push, be ready for first dragon. But I feel like exhaust is just so versatile and it scales so well into the late game, and being able to just have any champ's damage output into some of these late fights is really good. So happy to see it on Tarek. The Ignite, also not a bad option. Elmeet, they struggled early game in game 1, but were able to scale very well into the late game. We're an absolute menace, and I feel like the team comp for Pup Patrol is similar but different because they don't have as strong a front line. Yasuo kind of wants to dive, but Hui and Caitlyn still want to stay back. They still want to set up. They want to throw down their damage and their artillery, but they're not met with as much dive as last game. Obviously, Jarvan is going to want to dive in, but they aren't fully reliant on having that full dive in. They also want to set up themselves. Jarvan can find angles, which is where Rix really shined last game on the bye. So I think for Vanguard, I like this composition a lot better.
It certainly something. I do also, I think Tarek, personally is a bit underutilized just generally. Don't know if this is necessarily the angle for it. But I mean, with Yasuo and Xin Zhao getting in, they go in. You press R, the Cosmic Radiance comes down. They need to hightail it out of there, or risk getting completely destroyed without much value going their way. So it's I don't know. Sometimes words fail, but I pray. Help me out here.
I mean, it is certainly. I feel like they picked the Tarek, realizing that okay, Pup Patrol, they want to try and play the same way as last game, where you just have that front line that just kind of continues to push forward. And as they push forward, the back line gets more and more access without actually having to put themselves in danger. So if we get Tarek, we can protect ourselves, we can outlast them. But the place that Tarek really can work in the current meta, I feel, is when you're facing one of those engaged supports, which is not the case in this game. I think Tarek against Rel is really good because Rel, like we talked about in the last draft, can only go in. So if you're only going in against a Tarek, you're going to be in pretty bad spots. I also want to point out in this top lane, going exactly the same way as levels 1 through 4 did in game 1. So right about now is the point where it started to go really bad for Oath in game 1.
So long as Oath doesn't try to tower dive Wildstar, which I have a feeling is less likely to happen simply because the champions that they've selected set doesn't have has a much easier way to land hard CC to lock down the target and then secure a kill. Yasuo maybe not so much. So I trust a little bit more. The flag drag not quite going to knock up onto Oath, but he's slowed. He's down. First blood going over to the side of FEV.
Yeah, this is, where I'm feeling deja vu. This is what we saw last game, except now there's a little bit of jungle interference. Rick's able to continue to be active in the early game, and this is another point where I want to showcase just how... Actually, I'll wait a second as Zinjao's coming down bot.
Bamboo is nearly going to be stunned there, and as you mentioned, the gank was coming through, but again, Oath teleports straight away, but Rix is back. Oath, once again, as soon as he teleports right back to the lane, in trouble once again.
Yeah, and it's been a full clear for Rick, so not losing anything at this point, especially seeing that gank come through from Wardom in the bottom side. This Halliburton does take a lot of damage, but utilizing the shield, that Bastion, able to just eat it, no problem. And I want to go back to what I was saying about Jarvan, who's now counter warding, getting some good vision, but Oath has a kill angle here.
He certainly does if he can find it. Won't opt to try to hit Wildstar there with the Q3. So with those dashes available, we'll have another opportunity as Wardom is arriving now. Wildstar doesn't seem to know that the enemy jungler is here. The flash is all over the place. Won't really need help from Wardom, who did flash on that one. So even though Wildstar does go down in return, at the very least, is 2 flashes that have been used to try to take him.
Yeah, Oath really has been feeling the weight of these last 2 early games, was absolutely as conservative as they could be going for that kill. I think they could have gotten it a little bit earlier, but wanted to be safer rather than ended up sorry like they did these past 2 early games. And does eventually get the kill, has those Berserker's Greaves now, going to make it even more difficult for Yorick to consistently land any damage down onto the Yorick. I want to go back to what I was going to say about Rix and this Jarvan pick. A lot of people, when they are thinking about selecting Jarvan, they only think about the Cataclysm and the potential late game, but early game, this champion is able to be such a menace and gank so consistently.
Oh my gosh, Oath has another way in onto Wildstar, takes a decent amount of chunk. The Q from Wildstar doing an okay amount, but there's just not much in return. Oath will take that second tower shot, though, so it will mean that these kills are traded.
Yeah, that's pretty...
We'll be able to flag and drag away, but it's looking a little bit scary there.
Yeah, that's fine for your Yasuo. Really doesn't mind. Yorick wants to try and get ahead, wants to push into turret, wants to utilize the ghouls to poke at range without having to commit themselves really to dealing much damage. So a 1-for-1 at this point. Excuse me. Oath is going to be, more than happy to take that as Rix. Looking for the steal here, but I don't think that they should risk it at this point.
Yeah, it's only the first Drake, and even though Akira Minai does have that Weaver's Wall available, it'd be coming in late, and with the push in the bottom lane, going to the side of the Puck Patrol, there's just not really much that was around for FEV to contest that, and they rightfully back off of it. But it just took Rix maybe a little bit longer than you would have liked to recognize that.
Yeah, and I like the decision, just go back to your farm. You had your bot lane, your bot camps both spawn back up. Zinjao now ganking again.
Speaking of, will find Akira Minai, but the minefield there does ensure that the stun comes on the dash, and Akira Minai doesn't have to burn anything at all. Wait, no, I say that, but he did flash. Must have been off screen.
Yeah, and I think that is probably why they opt to pick this as Death and I have to flash.
Right. Will have to flash and jump away. I don't even know if this is enough, though. Helium Bamboo moving forward, trying to find the second one as the feats of warfare do go over to the way of for a Forge Esports Vanguard.
Yep. Able to find Death Knight warding a bit too aggressively.
Oh,
now,
wait.
great flank.
A lot of trouble. Rick's going to take him down to about half health. Traxon's there, not quite going to get the kill onto Elmead, but does force the flash and the barrier out from the enemy ADC. Wait, both? The Maiden does so much damage.
Yeah, the ghouls too. Doing a very good job too to make sure that the Maiden doesn't take turret aggro. This is a enormous cooldown, about 2.5 minutes at rank 1. So now Oath very wisely trying to kill the Maiden. And now, so that is a massive cooldown for Wildstar. And they might actually be in threat of dying here. Good job putting down that cage. Because Wildstar, I mean, got the recurve bow as well. Can really shred through. Deal way more damage than you ever could expect. And this is also pretty bad for Rix. Spent a lot of time topside. Got a kill and a lot of damage onto Wardum. Or onto Oath, excuse me. But now, down in CS, down both early objectives, down in experience. This is really backfired for Rix in the way they wanted to play this early game, especially considering how well Pup Patrol once again scale and how they've drafted to be relevant throughout the entire course of the game.
Yep, second objective over to the side of Pup Patrol. And especially with how this top lane is going with those extra grubs, even though they didn't claim the feats of warfare. Wait, hold on. Rix will find Oath again in this game. Flag drag gets the knock up. Oath in a lot of trouble. Wildstar and Rix still full health. We'll try to dash away there. There's just really not much as the empowered auto attack from Wildstar comes down. It will be a 4th kill for Esports.
Yeah, good job by Rix sticking around after the Void Grubs were taken. You wouldn't expect them to stay when all their topside camps are up. No grubs. Why would they be coming into the river? But Rix takes the risk, understands that he's once again foregoing some of that clear to get those camps, or to get that kill in the topside. Gets the camps now. We'll be a little bit behind on the respawn timers, but you're not really playing at this point to get yourself ahead. As really any jungler in this meta, if you're an AD bruiser jungler that's meant to gank and team fight well, you're not really looking to get yourself farm, you're looking to get your lanes ahead and then be consistent throughout the team fights and the objective controls. And with a minute 20 until Dragon, Jarvan's going to be able to clear this top side, get his bottom side camps as they respawn, and then be on the Dragon, on its spawn, so they can start their own stacking.
Yeah, obviously the key third objective for that other... is it officially named at this point? The other feats of strength one with the objectives? Either way, wait, hold on. That's going to be a cataclysm going down onto Oath. He does have the ult available and does manage to pin the kill around onto Rix, but right over to the bottom side. We know that there's no numbers there. Oath taken low, taken down as kills are traded across. But there's Black roaming up, getting the kill onto Wildstar as well. So good movement from the mid laners there to ensure that the rest of their map can get kills under their belt.
Yeah, the communication by each team throughout this series has been extremely impressive, and both mid laners especially being able to translate the leads in their lane.
William Bamboo's awfully low. He will land the Q. Does he get the kill onto the enemy support? Yes, he does. Wardom getting that solo kill there and just get some extra gold back.
Yeah, Traxon was just kind of standing there, didn't really know how to help. Just auto-attacking the Crescent Guard, doesn't do any damage. But no flash available for Helium Bamboo, no mana available for either of them. It means they just kind of have to sit there, and it's actually quite a meaningful timer because no support for this Dragon contest. Tarek just sitting in lane, now starting to make their way out, but they might not be there in time. And Hwei with that top lane kill has the Blackfire Torch already completed. Remember what I said last game about not wanting to fight over the second dragon? It's really not worth it. Rix heeding that warning, going to give this one up as well, and that is going to be the third point into, I looked it up, monster slaying.
Oh, he does have a name now. That's cool. That officially does. Oath will drop the wind wall there, does find his way onto Wildstar, but doesn't quite have enough Damage to find the kill. He's not quite out. Akira Manai won't quite land the Q. Does finally get that. Finds a kill onto Oath once again.
Yeah, well done by Akira Manai. Put down that unraveled Earth. Make sure that Oath can't just dash infinitely throughout all of the minions. Oath does a good enough job waiting out that cooldown, but just not able to find enough damage down onto either Wildstar or Akira Manai. Now Wildstar maybe hooked up too far.
Ooh, yeah, we'll take a few tower shots there. Wildstar still alive, gets smart again. Wardom thought he had the kill, almost gave it up, but does move back in and finally claims Wildstar.
Yeah, tried for the fadeaway, but almost ended up giving it up. This Xin Zhao is quite far ahead in terms of the rest of the map. Needs to go back and spend some of this gold, and now does. Gets the Stride Breaker, opting for a more skirmish-oriented build. Wants to be able to stay on a target, fight them for longer. Big item breakpoint, though, for Oath. Has that Bork. This is really the strength of these Yasuo-Yone pairings, where obviously the main thing is that crit multiplication, but the Bork synergy on both of these champions is so high with their ability to constantly be auto-attacking.
Drag finds Slack and Seismic Shove gets damage down. There it is. Akira Manai picks up a third.
I love the way you say flag, drag, shove. I mean, just perfect synergy. Talia loves having any jungler that can get locked down consistently.
Yeah, going crazy. We'll use the final breath onto Wildstar as Akira Manai shows up for this one. The Seismic Shove takes Oath quite low and pushes away from his teammate, and Wildstar going to pick up that one. Great help from Akira Manai. The Cosmic Radiance will find its way down onto Traxxon, but it will only last so long as Wardom is here. Takes him low. Ace in the hole won't claim it as Wardom picks that up, but still really well executed gank from the side of the Pup Patrol.
Yeah, really well done, and they almost, right there at the end, Wardom thinking about going further. I'm glad they showed some respect, didn't dive too far, but they played it super patiently. They understood that the Cosmic Radiance was going to come out, was going to delay their ability to get a kill, but they stay patient, they stay there, and they get the kill before Rix can join. This is a much more balanced early game, I feel like. Obviously, there's no crazy solo kills going on. 6 deaths for the Yasuo, so we're 4 away from that power spike.
Almost there.
Yeah, but, you know, it's funny when you look at where the gold is on the side of Vanguard. It's pretty well dispersed. Misfortune already has that Bloodthirster. Talia so close to the Seraph's Embrace. You've got Eclipse, Triforce now completed. And once you see this second Bruiser item come through from Yorick, it's going to start to get more difficult for Oath to truly just push them all the way off a wave. And Yorick is just kind of free farming in the side lane, and without the threat of last game.
We'll use the Blast Code to get in a little bit farther. Flag Drag will prevent Oath from moving any further forward in that one, and we'll be okay as we back away from this one. But we're hanging around this Baron pit, interestingly enough. I believe, yeah, the Rift Herald has spawned, so it should be Wardom probably taking that one, relatively uncontested.
I'm interested to see how much prio they're putting on the Rift Herald so far in this league. Oftentimes, with just how many objectives are in the game right now, you see Rift Herald often prioritize the least out of all of the objectives, so I'm interested to see how much they care about it.
Oath, again, may have just gone a little bit too far forward with this one. We'll use the last breath onto Rix as a dash to get away. Wardom is here to help his top laner out. Get away from that one.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, you're starting to see, even without the next Bruiser item, Wildstar is starting to win this 1v1. And it's only going to get more difficult once you see, you know, potentially Steric's Gauge as the next item. And then if I were Wildstar, I would just continue going into tank and abandon the Bruiser. You only really need, as Yorick, the Triforce, Steric's Gauge, or maybe Spear of Sojin, something like that, and then just start going into full tank. No one's going to be able to kill you on the side lane. You just consistently either draw pressure or you push to win the game. This is a position, though, where Vanguard need to respond. I don't want to be giving over Soul Point at 17.5 minutes. They have to find a way to contest this dragon.
It's going to be very, very difficult for them to respond, though, in all honesty. The Shove is going to the favor of Pup Patrol in that bot lane. At the very least, Akira Manai does have the Weaver's Wall to get into play relatively quick. Oath's taking a lot of damage. We'll use this final breath onto Wildstar, but it really doesn't do all that much damage just yet. The Maiden still doing a decent amount. That's, whoa, one auto attack off the Q. Takes Oath's health quite low, and forward from Wildstar secures that 1v1 kill, another solo kill. Wildstar in this game is well. Wait, the flag drag won't quite find Elmi just yet. Not over just yet. This contest from side of FEV. They're not going to get this one over so easily. Even though Wildstar isn't exactly the biggest team fighter, they do have a numbers advantage. He is bonking quite heavily at this point. Those Qs are nothing to ignore. Okay, for now, they are finally moved their way onto the dragon and will almost certainly prevent the soul point going to the side of the Pup Patrol.
Yeah, I mean, it's annoying for Wildstar to have to expend the teleport and come to this dragon spot because it's a 4v4. They have the mid push, they had the bottom push, so you'd think like they should just be able to take it. But you're playing up against a Hui Caitlyn. If anyone walks too far forward towards that dragon pit, they're going to get hit with so many abilities from off of their screen, and that's going to make the contest even more difficult. So I like the respect that was shown by Vanguard, and I like the response to understand, like, we have to get this dragon, so let's use the teleport.
Way Black will be hit by the flag and dragon, the flash, and now the stun on the seismic shove. Black taking low, taken down. Rick's picking that one up.
Yeah, this has been a really good game for Kirmanai and Rix as a duo. Really shining. Last game, Black and Wardom were the real dazzling duo in that mid-jungle. And I'm happy to see those roles kind of shift and Rix and Akira Manai be able to show what they're capable of. Forge Esports Vanguard showing off some of that communication. And being able to just get another kill into this duo, especially when the Jarvan's opting more for a damage build. The Talia, so strong at this point. Has the Saris Embrace going towards, most likely, Luden's companion, another Hextech component. And now, I mean, I was alluding to it earlier, but now it's fully here. Wildstar is just an absolute monster on the side lane. Oath is not going to be able to 1v1 him at any point going forward unless they opt to get like an early Lord Dominic's. Going to be so hard to get through the shielding that's about to be there, all the healing. The last rites are just dunking Oath over and over again, and they're sending a lot of members. Yorick wisely backs Wildstar, recognizing that they're getting collapsed on. They need to get out of there. But now it's I would like to see Yorick go bottom lane now. You don't have teleport, sure, and Otacon's top side, but because the Otacon's top side, you know that Pup Patrol are going to be drawn up there. They've had such objective focus all game and last game. So if Yorick's bot side getting another turret, putting pressure on another lane, I think that's really the right move here. But for now, they're going to prioritize Otacon as a team.
We'll move towards that. As you mentioned, Wildstar doesn't have teleport, while Oath and Black do, should a fight start to break out, and it seems worth contesting at any point. Otacon, the only objective on the map right now, though, and, well, the side of FEV don't necessarily take it all that fast, so they can't threaten it as easily. However, I think Oath, at this point, can do a decent amount. Shield Bow going to be the second option for Oath, though, in this one, which is a... it's a choice.
He's just dead.
Yep, it will pop up now. That shield bow will keep him alive a little bit longer, but he's on the wrong side of the map. But this isn't the folks that we want to see. Bullet time not going to find too much on the back end. The Cosmic Radiance will drop to keep the Helium Bamboo alive, but honestly not the biggest value Cosmic Radiance ever.
Yeah, just trying to prevent them from being able to push forward, get that turret. I also think that the... Yeah, Oath did eventually end up dying on the top side. The spectator kind of flicked up there for a second just to be like, hey, yeah, he did die. But I think the Weaver's Wall there was really crucial too, blocking them off from continuing the push. And while it did do what it was supposed to do, prevented that mid turret from going down, there's a lot of stuff expended. That means no Cosmic Radiance for this next dragon fight, no Weaver's Wall, no bullet time. So going to be a tough contest. Much tougher than last time. This might have to be soul point going over to Pup Patrol. Just because I think at this point in the game, we're unfortunately getting around to the time where Vanguard as a team comp are as strong as they're going to be. So taking risks like this, going into like the pretty much exactly the position Pup Patrol want to be in, where they can get control of an objective, force Vanguard to walk into Hui, Caitlyn. Going into that right now for an objective that's not going to give that massive permanent buff, I don't know if it's worth it. We're already starting to see this misfortune on the Essence Reaver now, but struggling to find positions to really do a lot of damage. They've matched the lanes much better now with Black into Wildstar rather than Oath, and you're already seeing world of difference it's making as Black is able to just easily wave clear, not even let Wildstar get close to the lanes. So I think now is about time that Vanguard have to decide, do they want to push their lead right now, or do they want to wait for a more a less risky situation?
Well, they have to make a choice soon. The Hextech Drake has just spawned. Oh, this here, the teleport is coming out from the Yorick. Wildstar going to try to find someone. Hold on, Rex and Helium Bamboo are in maybe a little bit of trouble. Cosmic Radiance isn't quite available. That's a pretty solid bullet time, and the Unbreakable's not going to talk much of it. Rick's going low, not quite down just yet. Now the back end, that will be the Ace finding the kill, but now L meets in a world of hurt with Akira Midai on the backside, picking up to get a double kill, and with the health bars as low as they are for the side of Pup Patrol, they're in full retreat. They will be able to get out 3 of them, War Dom, Black, and Death Knight with their lives. But actually, with how low the health, some of the health bars are on the side of FEV, it's not quite over just yet. They're trying to build it more. Wildstar taken low by Word Dom, but it's not enough. Akira Minai going to pick up the 6th kill this game.
Yeah, the only real damage coming through is from Hui. Did so much work in that team fight utilizing that mini Rumble ultimate. God knows I don't know the names of all these Hui abilities.
It's too many to memorize.
But the QE did so much damage in that choke point, and I mean, Akira Minai is massive right now. You see how much damage they're able to do. Oath died really early in that fight.
Shouldn't be able to dash here. Will find it onto, that's not who he was aiming for probably, but finds the last press onto Akira Minai, but it's not enough to find the kill. The wind wall will stop the damage coming through, and now the flag drag from Rix will ensure that that doesn't go any further south than it does, but very dangerous from Oath. He's hit his Fin Death Power Spike off that too, guys. He's got it.
Yeah, just way too many missed Steel Tempests there. That was really the main problem there. Probably could have gotten the kill onto Akira Minai if they hadn't missed those Steel Tempests. So going to have to be a point of emphasis in these next team fights. Now Oath, no teleport and dead, so not going to be able to contest this dragon. Akira Minai did back though to get all that health back. Now has the Shadow Flame, so going to be dealing even more damage in these upcoming fights. They have started the dragon. Black is in the area, but with Wardom taking his red buff, it's going to be uncontested.
Yeah, I mean, Wardom's on the opposite side of the map, and honestly, second Drake, you don't love to see it, especially with how well it was going early for the Pup Patrol in terms of objective control. I mean, at the time of that third Drake, we were talking about how a 17-minute soul point would have been devastating for Vanguard, but it managed well.
Yeah, and they stayed patient. They never rushed anything. They were waiting for their angles, and it ended up being Pup Patrol that kind of started rushing a lot of these engagements in these fights, going for very risky, unnecessary plays. They still have some decent scaling with Hui and Caitlyn. They just have to wait, like last game, for Caitlyn to come online. Wildstar continuing to push too far forward.
Yeah, will get hit by the Spiraling Despair. Black moving forward in this one. Does he have the damage to find onto Wildstar? He's burning down, and yes, he does. That's a shutdown going over to the Hui. That's a shutdown going over to Black, who isn't quite having the game that he did last time, but having all that extra gold onto the Hui might help him a long way throughout the rest of this one.
I see what you did there, a long way. Now, going toward these next items too, I mean, Hui is a champion that really does well with gold, able to just continue to stack up damage. Oath in the bad spot.
Does he have an angle here, or is it actually Lemon? Will find the last breath onto Akira Minai, and will move over to Traxon. Won't quite get the kill though. So we'll just have to wait for that 11th kill to truly start to pop off.
Yeah, good. I mean, they were able to get a lot of pressure away from the team fight. If Black were there, that would have been a very good move, because yes, Oath diving into the back line ends up with them just dying after almost able to kill Traxon, but in the end just having to push them out of the fight. But if Black is there and not having Talia or Misfortune in the fight, they can just destroy the front line with no threat of any damage coming through the other side. You're seeing in these fights, this is why I always hesitate when AD Bruiser junglers start building with damage in mind, because you're seeing Jarvan really doesn't deal any damage anymore. In that earlier Dragon fight where Vanguard were able to play really well, in the end Xin Zhao jumped over to try and kill Wildstar, just doesn't really do any damage. So I like to see at this point what Rix is doing, going towards those tank items, completely understanding my value after 25 minutes into the game is just to soak up damage. So going into that full armor, most likely going to be a Randuin's Omen for the Caitlyn and the Yasuo. So much crit coming your way. You want to be able to carve some of that away. And Misfortune going to be dealing huge chunks of damage in these upcoming fights if they're able to stay away from Oath and Wardom. Interested to see how Death Knight can make a mark on this game, because last game they were making plays all throughout on the Rel, whereas this game they felt a little bit more restricted.
Yeah, Rel, Braun, both tanky, but very stylistically different champions. Death Knight, a few of these Unbreakables have been just flat out in the incorrect direction. They will be pushed off of this Otacon, which is up now, and with Black on the opposite side of the map, does have teleport available should they try, but it's gone so low. I don't think this can be contested at all. No TPs from Black, and sure as hell there's the teleport after the Otacon dies.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were afraid of the and the response teleport. Like ships in the night. Oh no, this is sketchy.
Oh, no. Well, the teleport's been used by the York as well, away from the map.
They don't know. They don't know. They all left. All of them left.
Oh no, Baron's up.
Now they know.
I don't quite have vision on the health bar to see exactly where it's at. Now it's down to 1k, and it's pretty much uncontested. No Yorick here. The Cataclysm finds its way down onto Rix, but it's a solid amount of damage that this just gets completely negated. Hold on, flag, drag finds its way onto 3. The damage just isn't quite there. Now here's the counter punch from the side of the Pup Control. Gets the kill onto Helium Bamboo, but they spend a lot for it, and the health bars are low. That's going to be a double kill for Wildstar, and Death Knight and Black in full repeat flash over from Wildstar. He's going to try to get this. Now won't quite get the damage onto where there it is. Finally, Zamir Pyramid arrives for that one, and it's the ace for Forge Esports Vanguard.
Yeah, you really got to see there how far behind in terms of items Pup Patrol are. They had isolated Jarvan for so long. Jarvan does not yet have the Frozen Heart completed, and they're just not able to kill through the Cosmic Radiance, through the Golden Aegis. Just Jarvan staying alive, soaking all of their attention, and then once Xin Zhao finally dies, finally the rest of the 4 members of Vanguard are able to walk over and keep the fight going. Akir Manai just goes ballistic, hits a massive seismic shove after Elmeet flashes right into it. Does so much, Wildstar flashing over the wall to complete the ace. It would have been worth it if they were able to get a couple Barons out of there. It was an impressive sneak, but because obviously none of them got the Baron buff, yeah, I got a little bit of gold, but now losing that Hextech soul point as well as the Otacon, really starting to look dire for Pup Patrol.
Yeah, and I mean, even without the soul, Hextech Drake is probably the highest value Drake you can pick up on its own, and getting 3 of them under your belt gives you that extra ability haste and attack speed. Always feels really nice, and as I mentioned, sitting on that soul points, getting 3 in a row and sitting up nearly 5k gold now. It's harder and harder for the side of Pup Patrol to really find anything in this one.
Yeah, and as we move into the late stages of this game, being serenaded by the Spirit Blossom map as the slaughter is impending. You look at all of the bounties on the side of Forge Esports Vanguard. Oath caught.
Will land the Q3 onto Kira Manai, but will be stunned up by the E there. Seismic shoved away. Nowhere else for him to go. Oh, will land the Q3. Oh, that's a huge shutdown. Is it the 10 death spike for Oath? Not quite. Rix, with a few auto attacks, does manage to claim the life of Oath there, but that's a large sum of gold going into the belt of Oath.
That's the Infinity Edge completed, moving towards the Death's Dance. Oath, are they going to do it again? Fall so far behind early game, able to find their way back. And, I mean, Black has played better than their KDA suggests. This way is really the only damage outside of Oath, and Oath is having a hard time staying alive, which I don't really need to prove to you. 13 deaths. And Quay has been able to position very well, stay alive, deal damage throughout the entirety of most of these team fights. They're just once again waiting on Elmeet. Has 3 items, needs to get this final Last Whisper item completed. This is a good game to go Mortal Reminder. You've got Taric healing, you've got Yorick, has so much sustain and so much healing, using those Wraiths and using those the Last Rites bonks. Going to be very important for them to try and get some heal cut. I love the Zhonya's Hourglass buy from Black here. They really just need to stay alive as long as possible. This is really risky. There's nothing to fight over here.
That Velasco, as you mentioned, there's nothing really there for it. It will, at the very least, take away the Maiden, but at this point, it's not an incredibly long cooldown. It should be up for these next 2 objectives at the very least.
Yeah, and also because Wildstar not able to split push at the moment, the Maiden's not as useful in a team fight setting as it is often a side lane where you can just mega hard push and essentially turn any 1v1 into like a 1.5v1. So not having the Maiden, even if they do break out into a team fight, not going to be as impactful. Big item breakpoint I want to point out is Talia. Did lose a lot of Medjay stacks, but has the Rabadon's death cap now. This is not your standard low damage poke Talia.
Will drop the wind wall. Seismic shove moves him back, and now Cosmic Radius will drop, but it won't quite save Helium Bamboo. But Rix is on this back in, but may have just trapped himself in the Cataclysm. But Kiramanai does manage to turn it back onto Oath. Wildstar now into the fight. This is the 4v4. Probably going to be slightly different. Seismic shove is huge on the Death Knight though. Kiramanai without any assistance picking that one up. Once again, Akira Manai has just been outstanding this game. Nothing sort of, but guys, of course, cast a curse that one. Wardom will be claimed as well. And now onto the backside, Rix onto Elmi. Will force the flash away from Black. Maybe I spoke a little bit too soon about it. But either way, still a good fight from FED.
Good fight, but really dangerous to continue to just give over a lot of these golds. The biggest prize for that is going to be because of how disjointed the fight was, because of Rick's ability to stay alive. There's not really a chance to contest the soul here. 4 Hex Tech Dragons plus soul would be devastating. Oath is TPing in. It's going to take a hero play for him because Wardom is not alive.
Yeah, it's going to take something absolutely miraculous, and the 1v4 goes and can't quite steal it away. That'll be Hex Tech Soul for the side of the Vanguard. Black is here now. It might be a little bit too far up. The Cataclysm falls its way down onto the Black. The Zonials will keep him alive for a little bit longer. Left for Elmeet to arrive. I'm not sure how much it will matter. Bullet time comes down, gets the kill. Elmeet will at the very least get that shutdown, but flash over from Traxon gets the double kill.
Yeah, that's a 3-item misfortune with Hex Tech Soul. 1 auto attack if Love Tap is not already on you, and you are going to explode. Misfortune fully online, the Talia doing so much damage, and like I mentioned earlier, Rix, the decision to opt into a tank item, the Frozen Heart, makes it so difficult for them to isolate and take him down. Wardom is up and alive, going for the red buff. Helium Baboon does not have vision, but Akira Manai, again, so wise to get on the backside of the pit and force anyone trying to steal away. I think we're back in a position as we were in game 1 where it's going to be just a testament to see who is going to be able to close out the game the cleanest. Are Pup Patrol going to be able to find ways to keep this game going on forever? Or are Vanguard going to cleanly push down 2 lanes, get pressure on multiple sides, and end this game?
Yeah, I mean, Vanguard are the ones in the driver's seat this time around, so the roles have been reversed. It's not completely identical to the last time around. This Wildstar on this York should be able to help out with the side lanes a little bit longer, but at the very least, might be a little bit more difficult if Wildstar did have the Baron buff under his belt. It actually doesn't. There was 9 seconds left on that respawn before he was able to actually achieve that buff. So at the very least, no insane amount of York Baron push in the side lanes for this one.
Yeah, and I think at this point in the game, with the Baron up and available, you really don't need York split pushing. You're so far ahead, it's not like you really need to go for what's most optimal. You can kind of just have him roaming around.
Take a bonk down onto Wildstar, but calling ambulance not for me. Wildstar will get picked out by that last breath. Oath gets that kill. Akira Manai is there on the back end of the trade at 1-for-1 War. Dom hit by the seismic shove. It's another one without any CC from Akira Manai, doing extremely well there, picking up the double kill.
Yeah, and now they have a great angle to just push bot to end 4 men strong. Wildstar does give their life, but you have a massive wave Baron empowered minions. It is a tough siege against Hui, Caitlyn, and they're playing it very safe. They send Akira Manai off to the mid lane to push in, get that second wave of pressure. This is a smart way to do it, but the Baron buff is not going to last all that much longer. They're backing up to try and get these Baron empowered minions up and available, but very key thing, Caitlyn went off to the side lane, so now you've split up your damage dealers, making it a little bit easier, but they're not able to actually get up to the turrets. They have Misfortune and Talia low range, the both of them not able to actually stand up, so it's going to only be the minions dealing the damage. Does look like Akira Manai able to go back mid lane. They do get mid turret, so 1 turret for those 2 kills. They're playing this extra cautiously.
Yeah, not looking like they're really want to force the issue. And I get it, but at the same time, I mean, even if they did give over a few kills there, obviously you don't want to give too much gold over, but there's not really anything on the map that the Pup Patrol could really take off you if you did give things give a few of those kills away. So, still, safe play never entirely hurt, especially with how far they are in the driver's seat here, sitting up nearly 8k gold at this point.
Yeah, and considering you got Elder Dragon in a minute 30, at that point you want to just stay safe. I will say, I haven't seen a lot of aggressive uses of Taric Ultimate. When you have Jarvan, Talia, that's a moment where you say, hey, it's 4v5, and the only person who died is our split pusher. Let's just full send Taric ult, jump onto their heads, kill all of them, end the game. But obviously, not what we saw. Not feeling like they want to do that. They're going to wait for the safest opportunity to end, which is having Elder Dragon. The only problem with that is Pup Patrol, they know it. They know that it's their plan, so you can see they're just sitting here. They're just sitting here waiting to see if they're going to set it up. They are going to fully channel those recalls with their wards down. So they know now, obviously the mid lane push is the priority of Forge Esports Vanguard. They know that they're now going to move in and clear out that vision, but as long as Pup Patrol move 5 men strong, they should be able to reclaim some portion of the mid lane, at the very least push that in, as it looks like Vanguard are fully indexing into this bottom lane. Black can't walk too far forward though, because if they get caught out, then there's no chance that Pup Patrol are able to fight.
Oh, Deathbush, just
Oh,
no
no.
vision on this one specifically. Traxon will try to bait it out, and the stun will find 3. Back in the bullet time doesn't really do all that much necessarily, but it just might be enough onto this backside. Wildstar gets that first kill in the final. Last breath gets a lot as well. And there's another 3-man knockup. Oaths going for it, picks up another. It's really well played from the side of FEB, but they still haven't gotten Oath, who's going off. It's a quadra kill. It's the 16 death power spike. No, not quite. Akira Minai manages to get the kill onto Oath just before it could be absolute disaster, as it's only this Talia left alive after that fight.
They have 30 seconds to try and end this game. I think they're just going to push for as much as they can, but incredible job by Oath. This guy is a late game demon. It literally doesn't matter what happens before the 40-minute mark. This guy is going to make a massive play. The incredible double kill in a 1v4 last game. And then in this game, a quadra near Penta, Akira Minai. The only thing standing in between him and a essentially 1v5 pentakill, was able to hit so many incredible knockups in that team fight. The only reason that they were able to stay in it that long, though, was because there was a little bit of indecision by Rix, as the only real dive on this team comp was going in between Black and El Meat. Not sure who he should focus. He flag and dragged onto Caitlyn, and then he cataclysmed onto Black, and then he took it down and walked back over to the Caitlyn. So that indecision costed them a lot of time where they could have pushed them back. And now Paw Patrol have full control with Hwei, Caitlyn to set it up.
Yep, straight on to this Elder Drake. Taking
They're going to get it.
HP now, but they're going to get it, but not without the fight starting. Oh no! It's stolen by the Vanguard! The flag and drag brought within range, and Kirmanai gets a first kill. Yet another! It's not going to be Paw Patrol claiming the Elder Drake. It's going to be FEV picking that one up, and all 5 kills without losing any of their own team, and that'll be game 2 going over to the side of Forge Esports Vanguard.
They decided, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it clean. They steal the Elder Dragon, the 5-man ace, not a soul goes down. Forget about the other 40 minutes of the game. If you just look at that team fight, it was perfect. And Rix makes up for their mistake in the previous fight, steals the Elder, and secures game 2 for Forge Esports Vanguard.
Yeah, that steal from Rix was it was game deciding. Honestly, I think if he doesn't take that, the Elder Drake buff is a bit too strong, and the fight was already committed to extremely hard by Forge Esports Vanguard, that it probably goes the other way. But you know, Rix, the hero in that last moment, to be able to pick that one up and send us to a game 3. It has been a bit of a hectic series so far, but you know, chaos breeds excitement, and I'm absolutely thrilled with that one.
Yeah, I mean, even the designers at Riot say, you know, we created Elder Dragon to be a game-ending buff, so it doesn't really matter how far behind Paw Patrol are. If they're able to secure that with the Caitlyn, with the Hwei, so much long-range damage, they can kill you with the Elder buff from so far away. It's just so much easier for them to find an angle. So going into this last game, you know, like we keep mentioning, as this is a new league, no fearless, so everything is still up and available, but you got to figure 2 45-minute games. Have either team really figured out what their strategy is going into this final game?
We'll have to wait and see what adjustments these two teams make going to, like you mentioned, the decisive game 3. And I'm glad that the very first series in the Ember League has gone the full distance. But when we come back, it will be that draft for game 3, so don't go anywhere.